Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm going to be talking in this video about the second in my Lucius Shepard series. Lucius Shepard is an American author born in Lynchburg, Virginia on August 21st, 1943. He died at a rather young age, relatively, on March 18th, 2014, in case you didn't know basic facts about Lucius Shepard. He published his first story in June of 1983, The Taylorsville Reconstruction, and I've already done a video talking about that one. So refer to, I've got a Lucius Shepard playlist. Please refer to the playlist for the first video. The second video here, Solitario's Eyes, was published in the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction for September of 1983. And this is the issue. And yes, the artwork on the cover is for Solitario's Eyes. And that's a really cool thing because fantasy and science fiction did not do interior illustrations. So the only illustrations you got with this magazine was whatever was on the cover. And usually short stories didn't get the cover. In this case, this is a short story and it got the cover. The cover illustration is by R.J. Krupowitz, which I'm familiar with his work, having seen it on more than one issue of fantasy and science fiction, but otherwise I really know nothing about the artist. But he did a really beautiful job on this illustration. The story, Solitario's Eyes, it's only Shepard's second story, and this was a finalist for the World Fantasy Award for Best Short Fiction in 1984. Okay, so Lucius Shepard made quite a splash right out of the gate with Solitario's Eyes getting a nomination for Best Short Fiction of 1983 in 1984. At this time, like I say, I had not read Lucius Shepard yet when this was published. I only recently acquired this issue. I never had it when I was young. I did buy a lot of fantasy and science fiction back then. For a while, I was a subscriber. I think for financial reasons, I had to allow my subscriptions to end. And so when this issue came out, I was not a subscriber. And, when I wasn't subscribing, I did look on the newsstands to see for the issues that come out. Some issues I never saw for whatever reason. Either they sold out or the stores in Racine, Wisconsin never got them. This issue is one that I don't recall having seen on the newsstand back then. So I was not aware of Lucius Shepard's work at this time. I discovered him a little later and was blown away by his work. I'm instantly blown away by the first thing I read by him. An amazing author. Solitario's Eyes, I don't feel is his best work. Some people may disagree with me, but it is a good story. In Solitario's Eyes, a lot of his stories are set in South America. This is set somewhere in South America, though I'm not clear exactly what country. But in it, you have a guy named Eusebio, who is a doctor for a fruit growing packaging company. And you have a captain of the army who was important in the city where these people are at. And his wife, Amelita, who is pregnant, goes to Eusebio for medical checkup on her pregnancy. The two of them get involved. Okay. So Eusebio has an affair with Amelita, and her husband, I mean, word kind of spreads through the grapevine. Her husband picks up on this and comes to see Eusebio with a loaded gun. Takes a single shot right through the left eye of Eusebio, and the bullet proceeds onward through the eye of Eusebio's horse named Solitario, which has really unique looking eyes. I'm not going to go on to tell what happens after that because that would be a spoiler. As I say, it's a very good story. I cannot call this one of my favorite Lucius Shepard stories, but one, it was a finalist for the World Fantasy Award. What more do you have to say? Um, the writing is excellent, and reading this story in particular, I was getting feelings, it didn't seem like a story written by J.G. Ballard, but there just seemed to be certain things about it that made me think Ballard, as if Lucius Shepard was well aware of Ballard's work and brought some of Ballard's kind of surrealism or magic realism into the story, and of course the heavy focus on the characters here, which among science fiction magazines, you mostly got that from writers of Ballard's caliber. The vast majority of other writers were not writing characters as good as what Ballard did. And so Lucius Shepard was right up there and doing stories that just kind of felt, I mean, having recently read The Singing Statue, the next story I read was Solitario's Eyes, and it just it just felt Ballardian, if you know what I mean. It felt like a story that could have been written by J.G. Ballard. So anyway, stories recommended. It's a very good story, not a top tale, but a very good story, and it's in collections by Lucius Shepard, so you can get it in books, but the only place I have it is in this issue of Fantasy and Science Fiction right now. So have you ever read Solitario's Eyes or have any other knowledge of Lucius Shepard, his person, his history? I really don't know much about Shepard. Except for having read some of his stories, I don't know much about the man. So if you have any stories to relate about him, I would love to see that in the comments and learn more about him. Otherwise, I hope you'll like this video, subscribe to our channel, and come back for the next. I'm doing the deep dive, everything I can get my hands on by Lucius Shepard. His next story is Salvador, which was again in the magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. I hope you'll come back for that video and all the other video reviews and discussions we have here on Telltale Books.